So much is on the line at Chicago this weekend. A historic victory, potentially a playoff spot. Let's break down the numbers and see who truly is the favorite to win in the Windy City. I'm now joined by NASCAR analytical expert Greg Mathern from wintherace.info. Greg, first off, happy 4th of July. Great to see you're back home spending some time with friends and family. But I want to talk a little racing, the Chicago street race this weekend. I asked Dale Tanhart, another friend of the show, friend of ours, a few weeks ago before the Sonoma race, who the best road course racer is in NASCAR right now. And I know Chicago's a little different. We'll dive into the specifics in a moment. But in your opinion, who do you think is the best overall road racer in Cup currently?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because we've got a couple of different results depending on what stats we're doing. And I think that kind of goes to the parity in the sport right now in this level. I think I'm going to say overall it's Reddick, but when we kind of look at a couple of different stats, we see some interesting things, right? So the reason I'm going to say it's Reddick is if we look at the average running position at road and then the one street course race last year, obviously, over 2023 and 2024, Reddick has the best average running position at 8.43. He's also got the best incident adjusted speed metric for me. So when I'm looking at, taking out like the randomness of like, oh, you got in an accident and you ran, but your speed was down. He's got the best incident adjusted speed over the past year. And in both of those spots, he's well clear of second. Like we look at the second place guy for average running position, it's Chris Bell at 9.65 versus Reddick at 8.43. So I think we've got to give it there. That said, we look at some other stats. AJ Allmendinger tied with Reddick for most fastest laps. Look at who's led the most laps. That's going to be William Byron. We look at the best average finishing position. That's going to be Chris Buescher at 7.25. So there's a lot of stats all over the place, but I think the biggest ones that I want to look at are going to be that average running position, that incident adjusted speed, and those fastest laps. And Reddick's popping on all of them. So I think it's probably Reddick, but there's certainly some other contenders up there who have legitimate shots at competing with him.
Yeah, and the Chicago street race is very unique. It's unlike any other road course on the schedule. We certainly saw that last year. The weather's looking a little bit better this time around. Fingers crossed it holds up. One of those drivers who's not a Cup Series regular but could absolutely contend for the title of best road racer in Cup right now is Shane Van Gisbergen. He went 2 for 2 during the Xfinity Series West Coast road course swing last month. Now he's returning to the site of his first ever Cup Series win, the race that sort of put him on the map here in the States, if you will. He's driving the Colleague number 16. What do the analytics say about Shane Van Gisbergen? I don't know how much data you have on him, but how do you feel about his chances of possibly repeating this time around?
Well, we obviously, as you said, we don't have a ton of Cup data on him. We've got just the three races. We got the street course last year, and we got the one other race last year, both of those being, when he was running the Trackhouse car. And then this year we have him at COTA where he ran the 16 and didn't have a great day. But I think when we look at overall his performance, we have to put him up there, right? Obviously, as you just said, he had the great performances in the Xfinity swing last month. And when we go back to COTA, yeah, his race in the Cup Series wasn't great, but he was phenomenal in the Xfinity race there. Probably should have won that race or finished a little bit better than he did until we got kind of the overtime chaos that, tossed him back a little bit. So I think he's definitely up there. He has a unique skill set, and I think it is important to focus on that to draw a distinction. He has street course experience that other guys don't have. And there is a little bit of a difference in between street and road courses. It's hard to quantify exactly what that is, but I think it is worth looking at if we look over at the IndyCar series where they do both street courses and road courses regularly, there are kind of different guys that pop. The key one that comes to mind for me in that series is Kyle Kirkwood, who is consistently one of the top street course drivers. He's good at the road courses, but you wouldn't expect him to, consistently open as a favorite for those. So I think it is important to draw that distinction. I think he still has that experience that most of these other guys don't have. So he's absolutely going to be a threat for that reason.
That's a super interesting comparison over to IndyCar, where, like you said, they do have a mix of both types of tracks, both types of races. What stood out to me about SVG last year was obviously he qualified well, but then he ran well in the wet early on and ran well kind of in the dry later on. Like he didn't seem to have any weaknesses last year. Everyone's seen the track now. Maybe some of that advantage he had has been taken away. We'll have to wait and see. I want to ask about Christopher Bell, who I believe is right now the hottest driver in the Cup Series, at least in terms of consistent speed. Even races like Nashville last weekend, he didn't win. He probably had the best car. Christopher Bell, good road course racer, won the Daytona road course, I think, to get that was his first Cup Series win back in 2021. How do you feel Christopher Bell could do this weekend? He led laps here last year.
Well, as you noted, first off, he's just phenomenal on speed right now. When we look back, let's go back to Charlotte, right? When he got that, the win at Charlotte. Take out Sonoma, he didn't have a great race, but in the past 5 races minus Sonoma, he has been the first driver in my incident adjusted speed metric in 4 of those.
Wow.
And the one race where he wasn't first was Iowa, where he was fifth and closing late. So, I mean, absolutely, that car is a rocket ship right now. And as I just kind of noted earlier, he has the second best average running position on road courses in the past 2 years. So he is absolutely an incredibly dangerous guy. If we go back, look at Coda earlier this year, he probably could have chased down William Byron if he hadn't had a little bit of blocking in his way by Ty Gibbs. So he's absolutely a threat here, a dangerous driver who seems to be able to perform on all track types.
I totally forgot about Coda. You're right. He was charging hard towards the end, closing the gap, just ran out of laps probably to contend for the win there. Last question for you, Greg. The playoff picture continues to change week after week. There are some good road course racers not really in the picture. You think about Michael McDowell, who ran top 5 for much of the race at Chicago last year. Think about Justin Haley, who I know there was some weird, weather-related schedule or race shortening deals that sort of flipped the strategy, but he still finished second here a year ago and has been running top 15 lately. What about a Chase Briscoe, a good road racer? Are there any drivers beneath the playoff cut line that you feel have a really good shot to play spoiler on Sunday?
Well, Kyle Busch would be the number one guy. Kyle Busch's luck over the past month has just been atrocious. And actually, apparently, continues even outside of the Cup
Yeah.
Series. Like the guy can't get in a car and not have things go wrong for him. But if we look at his road course performances over the past 2 years, again, 23 and 24, he has the sixth best average running position at these courses. Again, wasn't great here last year in terms of running position, but did find a way to get up front. Yeah, it was a little bit of the weather stuff, but got up front and finished fifth. He's got the fourth best average finish over that time at 10.38. So he is absolutely somebody who I don't think a lot of us think of as a road course racer, but has definitely been putting together some strong performances on the road courses in the Gen 7 car over the past 2 years. So I think we have to look at him. He's in a desperate situation where he just keeps because of all that bad luck, he just keeps falling further and further down the cut line. But he's got the speed, he's got the performance at these courses. I think he's definitely a danger to look at. The other one, to kind of just and weird, kind of interesting fact, is Harrison Burton, who had some tough news the past couple of days,
Yeah.
obviously. But he has finished on the lead lap in 12 of 14 next gen road course and street course races. Do I think he's going to compete for the win? Absolutely not. I don't think that car has had the speed to do that. But he's going to be one of those guys who just manages to keep the car clean, it seems, and be there at the end to finish on the lead lap. The last one, obviously, not below the cut line, and we see him consistently performing well. Ty Gibbs, third best average running position at the road and street courses, continues to have a ton of speed. Also, again, almost kind of like Kyle Busch, just seems to keep having terrible luck in some of these races. Getting into the accident last week at Nashville, not his making there, had a very strong car, didn't have a great finish as a result. But again, he's got that high average running position. He's got speed. At these courses, I think he's someone that we definitely have to keep an eye out as, hey, I'm ready to make my win. I'm ready to make my statement.
Absolutely. And back to Kyle Busch for a moment, I think it's a great point that RCR cars may not consistently have speed, but a track like Chicago, a street race, a road course, it's a chance for the driver to really make all the difference. We'll see this weekend just truly how locked in Kyle Busch is on trying to nab one of those final playoff spots. Greg, great stuff as always. Really appreciate your time. Happy 4th of July to you and all your family. Hope to talk to you again soon, man.
Happy 4th to you as well, man.